Hello everyone and welcome to today's Talking Cafe on Wednesday the 16th of June. Today we are joined by Shannon Nutkins and Vanessa, who is the chair for Green Wedmore, and I am the community agent Melanie Kelly for East Mendip, and I'm going to introduce you to Shannon and Vanessa in a moment. This week on Talking Cafes, it's Eco Week, so each day we've had themes regarding the environment and sustainability. And today we're joined, as I said before, by Shannon Atkins of Lendology and Vanessa Becker-Hughes of Green Wedmore. So I will now hand over to Shannon and she'll talk you through what wonderful work they do.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mel. I'm Shannon and I'm the digital comms lead here at Lendology. So today what I'd like to do is give an overview of what we do at Lendology, a little bit about us. And of course it's Eco Week, so a little bit more about our energy loans. And then I'm going to hand over to Vanessa, who's going to talk a little bit more about the energy schemes operating in Wedmore. So we're essentially a social enterprise lender, so we don't have any shareholders. So any profit that we do make is reinvested into the community. We work in partnership with local councils across the southwest. So what we do is provide loans to homeowners, so for a range of essential repairs, home improvements, adaptations and energy efficiency measures. So we started out in 2003 with a few councils across Somerset, and then in 2008 we started working with a few more council partners across Devon, Dorset, South Gloss and Wiltshire. So the scheme has been developed to essentially replace the old grant scheme. So the councils have invested in this scheme as a way of investing their funds. So whereas before they may have been given grants, by lending this money it means that we lend it out and then it can be lent to other homeowners once it's been repaid. So what we've essentially created is a sustainable pot of money, which means that we're able to help more homeowners. So our vision is to provide a tailored service to help people to live in their homes, so their homes are safe, suitable and warm for their needs. So and what we do essentially is if someone calls us, gets in contact, we can book a telephone appointment with them. So they'll be able to talk with one of our expert advisors about the works, source some quotes, and then we'll be able to look at how we can support them by providing the finance to support them with the works. So the loan scheme is completely tailored to their individual circumstances. So they can decide how much they'd like to repay and look at a loan term which will suit them. So when we first started working with the councils, the main focus was for owner-occupiers. As the scheme grew, along with the focus of housing needs, we've now developed a few different loan products and loan schemes in partnership with the councils to support a variety of property owners. So we can now also lend to park homeowners, landlords and empty property owners. So we can look at funding energy efficiency measures in properties, which is obviously really important given the climate emergency. So our most popular type of works tend to be roof repairs, closely followed by boilers and windows. So it's the kind of integral improvements that are required for homes. Lots of our councils have now signed up for the energy efficiency loans. So this means that we can now support a scope of works from renewables to just general retrofitting works throughout the house. So this means that we can support a range of homeowners from anything that's required, and it's great if they can't qualify for that grant funding initially, because lots of people don't really know that there is help out there. But with us, you have that security of knowing that you're borrowing council funds to help you over a term that suits you. So in terms of the loan, the minimum amount that you can borrow is £1,000 and the maximum is £20,000 depending on council policy. So you can potentially borrow more depending on your project. And as I said previously, the councils are really keen to support a range of energy works. So if it does look like it's going to cost a bit more than that, get in contact anyway. And we can have a look at assessing the works, looking at the quotes and seeing what needs to be done really. With the loan, interest is fixed, so that's fixed at 4%, and that's regardless of how much you borrow. There's no early repayment charges, and there's lots of flexibility around the loan. So, as I said before, the max loan term is 15 years, but with the option to make overpayments, you can overpay whenever you can by making lump sum reductions of £100 or more at any time. There's no setup fees, but as we are lending public funds, what we do is put a land registry title on the property. So this just means that if the property does sell or you decide to move house, we'll get that money back. It's reinvested, then it can go out to help more homeowners. So yeah, not many people actually know that their local council has funding available to enable them to make these essential repairs or improvements to their property. So it's really important that we promote the scheme and the work that we do with community organisations such as Green Wedmore, so we can signpost them to get the most suitable help. It's actually Community Energy Fortnight, so as well as Eco Week for you guys. So it's great that we're able to have this platform and kind of talk a little bit more about this scheme today. We have a crucial role to play in supporting homeowners with retrofitting their homes, and I think there's a bit of a misconception that it's renewables cost a lot of money, and it's impossible to kind of get to that point in making your home energy efficient unless you've got lots of funds behind you. But that really isn't the case. There's very basic home improvements that you can make to your property, which will make a huge difference in terms of saving energy and saving money. And there's lots of community schemes out there which we can kind of support in terms of topping up funds. So you can have a look at installing things like solar panels. So in the last year, we've helped plenty of clients with things like solar, ground source heat pumps, and other energy efficiency measures, which have meant that they've been able to save lots of money and energy. So we really are able to provide finance to a wide range of people, and for many of them, it's those who may be excluded from mainstream finance providers. So we really are here for all homeowners. I had a case study that I just wanted to share with you guys today. So it's a client that we helped in South Somerset. So I think she was in Ilminster, and her property required extensive works and needed lots of updating. So the chimney needed repointing. It was almost falling down. The kitchen had been fitted with concrete floors, no worktops. In her bathroom, there were no tiles. The cottage had original sash windows, so these weren't very energy efficient, and they desperately needed to be replaced for double glazing. And the boiler was also old and broken down, so the heating systems throughout the whole house also needed updating. And the electrics didn't work, so they were in a really dangerous state. So she needed all sorts doing to her property. And of course, for many people, that's quite overwhelming, knowing where to start. And it gets quite complex when you start sourcing those quotes. And for so many people, the cost implications tend to be the biggest barrier. But we had a telephone appointment with her, one of our advisors, and they were thrilled that they were able to support her. So with the help of South Somerset's agreement in principle. So she qualified for a Lendology loan, and she actually told us that she wouldn't have been able to get the works done without our help. So she told us that she now feels over the moon that the works have been done. She feels safer and warmer in her home, and her energy bills have also decreased. When asked what she would say to other homeowners, she told us, she said, "Go for it. They have improved my life so much, and I'm extremely grateful." It was all very personal, very involved and caring. And this is what it's at the heart of what we do, really. It's not about the lending, it's about the impact that we can make to people's lives. And for this particular client, it made a huge impact in reducing her energy bills, saving her money, but also giving her a sense of well-being, which she didn't have before in her home. So in terms of our energy works, we can support lots of different works. So boilers, central heating, insulation, double and triple glazing, ground source heat pumps, air source heat pumps, and of course solar panels. So the main criteria really is that you're a homeowner. That's it essentially. It doesn't matter if you are on benefits or if you are on pension credit, we can still look at supporting you. So we welcome applications from people with poor credit history, pensioners, and also those who are self-employed. So it really is for everyone, as I said before. And I mean, energy is something that we're really passionate about. So, of course, lowering your carbon footprint, making these essential works can also increase the value of your home. And it's not just about these kind of big energy works, as I said before, just these small energy improvements can make a huge difference. So I'm going to pass over to Vanessa now. For her to talk a little bit more about Green Wedmore. We've kind of been working together previously, so we've just spoke before about how we can look at kind of funding some of the works with the solar panels. So yeah, we can provide council funded loans in partnership with Sedgemoor for anyone who is interested. So get in contact if you'd like to find out more. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you for the introduction, Shannon. It's always interesting listening to you talk. You do such lovely things. And thank you to Talking Cafe for inviting me today. It's really lovely to be here. So I'm from Green Wedmore, and it's an environmental group in Wedmore. We've got about 2,000 residents in the village. We're quite a rural village. Green Wedmore has been going for 13, 14, 15 years now, something like that. So we're a very active group, and we focus on two main things. The first thing is on keeping all of our work as local as possible and on action. So we try and reduce all the hot air, and we just try and get on with some really good common sense projects. And we've done lots of different things. A couple of years ago, we started working with a zero carbon project, and we arranged some funding to get ourselves a report called the Zero Carbon Report. And it's quite a key document actually for us, because it contains lots of data, lots of information specifically about Wedmore and how Wedmore can tackle carbon and how we can reduce carbon within the village. Now, it's obviously a massive subject, massive topic, how villages and communities actually go about doing that. But this report is very good. And from that report, we have arranged ourselves into 6 groups. And each group then looks at their sort of subject. And listening to Shannon talking about Lendology, that fits perfectly into a project we've got going on at the moment, which is a solar project. So that comes underneath our energy group. We've also got a transport group where we look at things to do with cycling, electric cars, community transport, car sharing, that sort of thing. We've got a well-being group. We've got a carbon and nature group. And we've got a food group, which is doing a very exciting project at the moment, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And we've got a housing group. So, arranging ourselves in those 6 groups really does help us to keep organized and keep on track. So, so a little bit more about our current energy project. It's called Wedmore Solar Challenge 1000. It's a very ambitious project. And as many of you will know, that the government incentive has now been removed, the feed-in tariff, which existed to promote solar to go on roofs. So this this project that we're working with a local installer and with Lendology, we hope is our sort of village answer to that. We have engaged with a local solar company called Sunlit Solar, and they have bulk purchased a container, and there will be more containers coming, of solar panels that can be used specifically in Wedmore on Wedmore roofs. And anyone that would like to take part in this project, you can have an array put on your roof at a very much discounted Wedmore price. So it's sort of a little bit like bulk buying. So we're using one supplier who's a local supplier who we know very well, and he's done some work for us in the past. And we've connected that up with Lendology because we didn't want this project to be reliant upon people who have vast sums of money in a savings account, or people that can afford this sort of renewable energy technology. We wanted it to be accessible for any homeowner to help reduce their carbon, to start thinking about how they're using their energy, and to be producing renewable energy from our amazing Wedmore sunshine. So Lendology is the sort of the other third of this project, and it's really lovely to be working with you. Really lovely people, and it offers really really easy way to get finance because it's attached to your property. So yeah, that's really good. And like Shannon said, I think all the loans are 4%. So that's really affordable. And one really key thing about this project is that yes, you could use a Lendology loan to repair your roof or put in a new boiler, for example. But if you are going down the route of installing solar, then you're obviously going to be saving money because you're going to be producing your own electricity. And that money that you're saving, you can then offset towards any finance that you have. So, it's really exciting, and it's highly accessible. And we've got lots of people that have had a roof survey already. And we've got people that are booked in already to have solar installed. And, we really hope that we will get lots of people who are installing solar on their roofs from that. So, yeah, so that's brought you up to date with that. We've also got under our energy group some early feasibility funding for a wind project, which is very exciting. It's very early stages on that. We've got a food group, and their current project is they have been all around the village talking to local clubs, associations, and groups, asking people for personal recipes, all using locally sourced ingredients from local growers or local shops. So we have collated I think it's about 60 recipes so far, all using local produce, which is really lovely. And it's all going into a book that we're getting printed up. And we've sold some advertising space to local producers and to local cafes and things. So that's really lovely. And we hope that that will encourage more people to think about where they're sourcing their food. Should we be buying milk from supermarket that could have come from anywhere in the country? And actually we've got dairies all around and within our village, and we now have lots of milk vending machines. So this is a wonderful thing. We can use the cookbook to advertise those sorts of things. So that's a really exciting project. So we're hoping that they'll be printed in July sometime, and they're £7 a copy. And if you want to get one, then they will be for sale in local shops. And we're also going to set it up so that you can buy the cookbook from the website. So yeah, that's another project. We've recently been working on a new woodland that we've put in the village, and it's a food forest project type of woodland, and it runs along the lines of permaculture. So everything remains stable on the site, and there is very little or minimum human involvement and management of the ground. So it's about soil, it's about the air, it's about sustainability, it's about planting trees, it's about what trees you're planting. And in this case, we were planting apple trees, plum trees, walnuts, gooseberry bushes, carrot bushes, all sorts of different trees, so that people can go there and pick some fruits and nuts. And it's a community site, so anyone is welcome to go there. And if anybody wanted to go there, you go to the village car park, which is at the bottom of the low burn in Wedmore, and you will see a 5-bar gate. You just go through the 5-bar gate. There's a little sign that says Worthington Woods. So you go in there, and it's a 2-acre site, and it's really very beautiful down there. It's easy to get to. You can park there, and we've had a couple of sort of nature-based mini events running. Obviously, because of COVID, we haven't been able to run all the massive events that we tend to run, but we've had a moth trapping session there, and we do some botany there, we do tree work there, and we visit regularly and make sure that all the trees are mulched and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's a really lovely project. Some other things that we do, when COVID allows, we run repair cafes in the village hall, so that people are encouraged to not throw away things that are broken and put them in the bin so they go into landfill. We hire the village hall, and we have 4, 5, 6, 7 people there who are really good at fixing things, and they show people how to change a fuse, or how to repair a puncture on your bicycle, things like that. So it's really lovely, and we have a nice cafe there, and people come and do knitting or spin their wool and things like that. And we all have a bit of a catch up, and we have knife sharpening and yeah, some really lovely things go on at the repair cafe, and we hope soon that we'll be able to put that back on again. But obviously with COVID, we haven't been able to all meet up. But and just touching on the village hall, we were very fortunate to be able to be in the position where we could help put solar on the village hall roof. It was a couple of years ago. And we also helped them to get a Tesla battery installed in the village hall, which is a really lovely thing, because the village hall is often used evening times, lights, and electrical equipment. And having that battery on site means that they're not only generating or producing their own electricity from the lovely Wedmore sunshine, but it's being put down into a battery, and then it's drawn on in the evening, which is, it's really lovely. We've helped the tennis club install solar. We've helped the bowls club install solar. We helped the primary school, or the first school, install solar. And of course, in Wedmore, we have our own 1 megawatt community solar farm, which was a very big project for a village to take on. And Green Wedmore was at the heart of that. It was the catalyst, and it put on meetings quite early on to do with community energy that sparked a little bit of imagination with some members that go to Green Wedmore, who then took on the project and commissioned the project, which was built in just over a year. And the vehicle that was used, that now runs that project is a cooperative, and it's the Wedmore Community Power Cooperative. All of the electricity that's generated from there feeds directly into Wedmore, into homes. And on a lovely sunny day like today, we're probably, I don't know, feeding into about 300 of our parish houses. Lovely, amazing green energy. It's quite fantastic. The way the project was financed is that we had set up a share offer, and we also had a bond offer, so local people could buy shares in the cooperative, and it was also on offer to people not necessarily living within the village. We had to open that up because to install a 1 megawatt solar farm, you're looking at about £1.2 million that you have to raise, and that wasn't quite available within the boundaries of Wedmore Parish. So we did end up with quite a few investors who are really keen to invest, who maybe not even in Somerset or nationwide, but actually live abroad, and they thought, this is a really good thing that we want to put our money into, so members get a bit of interest. And then on the back of that, over the lifespan of this community energy project of 27 years, it's estimated to pay out community grants about £500,000, which could go towards, any of the clubs in Wedmore can apply for a grant to do with, greening up of their buildings. If you want to have a little look on the website, you can see all the ways how you apply for a grant for that. So that's also something that Green Wedmore was really heavily involved in, going back a few years now. We also have 2 other community woodlands, which are really lovely to walk to. Native woodlands. One's got quite a few apple trees in, and the other's got quite a mixture. And that was a lovely project to sort of set up quite a few years ago. A lot of people came from the community and helped plant up. It was slightly trickier with our more recent woodland because we had to do all of that through COVID. So we could only meet up in really tiny little groups to do it. And we had to be socially distanced, and we had to rope the site off, but we still managed to do it. And another thing that we managed to do through COVID, we used to have free cycle days where you could go to the village car park early in the morning and take lots of things you didn't want anymore and put them in the boot of your car, and open up your boot or put them out by the back of your car and just give them away to people. So, it's an opportunity to come away from people having to keep on buying things. You can actually give things away. And it's lovely to give something and not have to exchange money. Keeps things out of landfill. And it's a really lovely sharing thing to do. They were really popular events, but we couldn't do that. So we decided to have a doorstep free cycle event. So we'd have a weekend where people were encouraged in the village. If you had anything, it could be flower pots, it could be a toaster, anything. You just put it very neatly and tidily on your front doorstep or in your front lawn where people can get to, but not on a pavement or anything. And over the whole weekend, people would walk around the village. Fingers crossed you had good weather, and would just be helping themselves to all these things that had been put out for free. So you're sort of recycling within the village. So that was really lovely to be able to do quite a few of those. And we've got another exciting project in the pipeline under the Carbon and Nature group, and that's Wilder for Wedmore project, which is all to do with people having a focus on their gardens and on their little bit that they have, whether it's window boxes or whether you have a big garden, and also looking at community ground as well and how that is managed. How are we planting for pollinators You know, are we planting native trees, or are we planting trees that have to be shipped in from abroad? How are we looking at what chemicals you may have in your garden shed? Are they good for our gardens? Are they good for wildlife? All these sorts of things. And there's going to be a big village map for that. There's going to be leaflets produced. Sadly, because of COVID, we couldn't have lots of events where we tend to raise money. So we've had to do various crowdfunders and things like that to be able to launch all these different projects. So we have fingers crossed that we can get our last little bit of grant money for that Wilder Wedmore project, so that we can launch that in the village. And that would be really exciting, because it'll involve anyone that lives in the village. So yeah, that's just another sort of example of another project. Yeah, so I don't know, did you want me to talk about anything else? I can keep going, but you probably have enough.
No, that's really interesting, Vanessa. It's fascinating, and it's just amazing ideas that you have. Wedmore is a beautiful village, and just sounds very community minded as well. And I would hope from you inspire a lot of other communities to try some of these ideas as well, because they're really, really brilliant ideas. And very good for the environment. So it's fascinating. And the woods, I'm glad you told us where the woods are, because I definitely would like to visit someday. So that's good to know. Were you going to say, sorry, Vanessa, were you going to say something else then about the...
I was, and do you know what? It's left my mind. It'll come back.
Inspiring other... That's okay.
Yes, we get lots of inquiries all the time from groups who up and down the country who are looking to start up a group, and they say, well, you know, where do we start? I'm really lucky with Green Wedmore, because we have a long history of rolling out different projects and just getting on with stuff like litter picks and all of that we do. So I'm able to sort of pull on that knowledge and then help other people. You know, we are set up just as a group. We're not a charity, we're not a CIC. It's a very basic group. We have a constitution, and we have some really committed members. You know, and I think that's what you need. If you want to achieve something, you have to have key people in your group who are prepared to share their knowledge and you know, be committed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting.
If there's anyone watching and they want to find out how to start up a group, just send me an email.
Contact you. Yeah, I'm sure you will get some. Definitely. I think it's fascinating, and you've done so many projects that I don't even know which ones to necessarily pinpoint to ask you about afterwards. You did cover a lot about repair cafes. I find them really fascinating as well. And can anybody come to those from outside Wedmore, or is this just for Wedmore residents?
Anyone can come along. Yeah, anyone at all.
Okay, that's good.
There are more of these repair cafes cropping up all the time. I think it started in the Netherlands, and I think it sort of grew from there. And to run an actual repair cafe, you need to join the repair cafe group. And they will give you an information pack, and it shows you how to put it on, because obviously you don't want to be getting involved in doing mending things that's sort of out of your depth. So there's a lot of support that's involved.
I'm sure.
And a lot of towns and places are actually putting these cafes on. So, you know, I'm not suggesting people come from miles and miles around.
No, that would defeat the object.
It would be, you know, super busy. Yeah. Probably couldn't cope with that. But I'm more than happy to talk through to any other group to show them how to put on, you know, a repair cafe. It's not that.
Yeah, that's,
you know.
Okay. Really interesting. And also, can you talk a little bit more about the groups you have that operate under your zero carbon project? The groups that actually operate under them. I know you talked about that before, but just
Yeah. They're sort of 6 key groups, and it can be quite daunting. You know, we hear in the news a lot. We read about it. It's on the radio. It's on social media about climate breakdown, rising temperatures, rising sea level. We're sort of bombarded in a way with all this information, and you think, oh my goodness, how do we as individuals deal with that? Do we bury our heads in the sand, or do we actually try and come together as a group and try and do what we can to preserve this earth that we love? And it's from that deep love, that's where a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of passion comes, because we love our earth and we want it to remain so beautiful. All these species that we're losing, it's quite heartbreaking.
Yes, it is.
From that basis is where a lot of these groups are sort of popping up, and it's great that we can sort of work together. But to do that, you have to try and be quite organized in if you want to take on a lot of projects. And we found the best model that we could use was a project that came from the Centre of Alternative Technology, who are fabulous people. And we have the lovely Sonia Bedford, who is our vice chair, and she has been on a course there, and she was able to pass the information down to us so that we could then go ahead and get our zero carbon report. And I can send that to any community anywhere if you want to see the in-depth amount of information that is actually retrievable, to do with how much electricity communities are using, how many people are still using coal, how many people are on gas, on electricity, what is being generated in your village from solar. All of these interesting bits of information is available if you know how to get hold of it. And then once you have your report, you can think, okay, how are we going to best use this information for our community? And for us, it was through these 6 groups. And I don't know if any particular group is more important. I like to think that the well-being group is really important, because through the well-being group, it's where we like to sort of look out for each other, and it's where our deep love comes from for the world and for the earth and for the creatures in it. And it's from there that we can then put our energy into the other groups. So the energy group deals with solar. It deals with heat pumps, which Shannon spoke about earlier. And we are looking at setting up a heat pump project, just like the solar project we're doing. So I'm going to have to pick the phone up and talk to Shannon again about that, because we want people to be installing heat pumps. And you could be looking at thermal tubes. It's all ways of energy using and energy saving. I think if we can save a lot of the energy and not use so much, then we don't have to produce so much. So that's also quite interesting way to look at things. The transport group, that's looking at the possibility of having a electric car in the village that people can hire by the hour, and it would all be done through an app on your phone, and you download the app and you book out the car for an hour or 2 hours or something, and then you return the car afterwards. So we're looking to try and help people come away from actually owning a car, if you can go and rent a car for an hour and you book it all up through the app. Unfortunately, Wedmore has a really poor Wi-Fi signal, so we were unable to roll that project out earlier, because we wanted to do that, but we couldn't because we didn't have the Wi-Fi for the app. But we're hoping in time that we can go back to that. But those are the sort of projects that we look at, and we also look at things like car charging points. We worked with the George Hotel many years ago to have a really early car charging point at the George that anyone in the village could use who is passing through. That was a really early one, before a lot of other electric car points were popping up. Of course, now they're popping up everywhere, and we hope to get more of those in the village. We could look at getting electric bikes. I have an electric bike, and I went down to the woodland on it this morning, and I came back and I generated all the power that goes into that battery from the solar on my roof. And I was doing that rather than getting in my petrol guzzling car. So, we like to encourage people to cycle as much as they can. We had 2 cycling events during Cycle Week. I think it was last week or the week before, I can't quite remember, but we had 2 cycling events because we want to promote that. We like to promote children being able to cycle to school safely. And there's a little group on the parish council who are looking into that, and we hugely support that because, for all the health risks and reducing congestion on roads and things like that. So so that's another group. The food group, when we can, we want to be able to go into schools and talk about growing your own food. We want to talk about, cooking things from scratch and using, thinking about reducing food miles. If we're importing asparagus from Peru, when we could be, using other greens that have been grown in Somerset, highlighting those food miles. If we're flying food in against food that has come from just down the road, something like Somerset Foods, that they work to join a lot of growers up together, and they have supported us in our cookbook. And it's just sort of working with lots of these sort of different groups to just highlight that actually this is a clear way that we can go forwards. Because I think sometimes it's difficult and you struggle and you think, well, how am I going to do that? I've got to relearn a new way, or I've got to stop doing that. And that can be quite difficult because, we have these sort of habits of how we do things. So we've got to rethink these ways. So we like to, Green Wedmore likes to be able to sort of offer solutions and, okay, this is how you can do this. And this is another way of doing something. And so that's another thing. And our carbon group, we are surrounded by the Somerset Levels, which is famous for its peat. So we are constantly talking to people about having your own compost heap and coming away from buying peat compost, because it's, the peat is where carbon is stored and it needs to stay in the ground. So that's one little thing that that group looks at. It also looks at tree planting. It looks at things like slow the flow, planting trees higher up on hills so that when it does rain, it slows the flow down. All sorts of different things like that. So,
It's amazing. There's so many things. Very impressed. I didn't know anything about Green Wedmore until today, really, only a little bit. And really impressed. So well done with all your hard work. It's amazing. And definitely be interested in the cookbook. That sounds really good as well. So I'll be down to visit and buy a cookbook. When are they going on sale? Are they ready yet, Vanessa?
No, they're not ready.
Okay.
We are hoping that they're going to the printers in 10 days, a fortnight, something like that.
Okay. Brilliant.
And they will definitely be for sale in our village event in August. The whole of Wedmore is having like a combined street fair stroke Wedmore Harvest Home Day, and we're having a stall there. They'll be available on the website to buy and in local shops too. So,
yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Okay. And then just one last thing. How can local people get involved with Green Wedmore?
Well, the first thing you could do is to just get in contact and say, I want to join the group. And there's no like membership you fill out or anything. Being a member is just sort of following us really and feeling very welcome to come to any meeting we have.
Yeah.
To join us on Facebook and to partake in discussions and the sharing of information. We don't ask people to put hours and hours of time into Green Wedmore. You can if you have that time, but you haven't got to do that. You haven't got to come to meetings. You could help at the Repair Cafe, helping serve the tea and coffees, or you could be a repairer there. You could help us make bat boxes. You could help us make bird boxes. You could help us with a little bit of strimming or scything at a community woodland. You know, you could help us deliver leaflets if we're running an event. So there's so many different things that you can.
Something for everyone. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just send us an email. Just get in touch. Come to our Zoom meetings. We're hoping our July our July meeting, which we meet once a month, will be at the New Woodland. We've created we've created an outside woodland area for like a classroom. They're basically stumps of wood, all round in a circle.
Of course they are.
We want to have our meeting in the woodland with the birds and the bees and all the grasses and the fruit trees. So we're really looking forward to that. Our meeting on the last Monday of the month at 7:30. So it's either via Zoom or in person when we can. And just come along and listen, or ask questions, or get involved. Think about something that interests you. Think about a passion. It might be gardens. It might be transport. You might work in a sector that falls under one of these 6 things, and you might think, actually, I want to help, but I want to do what I can, and I want to join that wellbeing group because I've just done a course in forest bathing, or I want to help in the food group because I have a passion with growing my own food and I have an allotment and I want to share the food I have, and things like that. So there's so many things to get involved in. So just get in touch.
Yeah, sounds like a wonderful community. Definitely. Well, thank you very much for all that information and for the work you're doing for the environment. And Shannon as well. Did you have anything else to add, Shannon, before?
Yeah, I just wondered if I could just jump in.
Of course.
Sorry. So yeah, everything you've just said, Vanessa, it's fascinating, and the work that Green Wedmore are doing is absolutely wonderful. Vanessa's fabulous. Like it's amazing, and I think touching on what Vanessa said earlier, it's quite overwhelming knowing where to begin. The words climate crisis, it alerts quite red lights, and no one knows where to start, but it's about making these little steps, and everyone can do something. So we're delighted that we're able to support Green Wedmore with their project, and hopefully make sure that the finance is accessible for all homeowners. Like as I said earlier, it's not for just people who have that the ready funds to support these measures. It really is for everyone, and everyone can do something. And if there are any other community groups like Green Wedmore who are looking into kind of retrofitting projects, obviously talk to Vanessa. They're great at Green Wedmore, know what they're doing. They're experts at it. And when it comes to finance, we're here to help. We're here to support a range of energy efficiency measures across Somerset and across the southwest. So get in touch with both of us, and it would be our pleasure to be able to help you.
Yeah, thank you. It was wonderful to hear about both of your organisations and the wonderful work you're both doing. So thanks for joining us today. And so it was lovely having you both. And I just want to say thank you to anybody that joined us today, and whether you're joining us live or on catch up. And I hope you enjoyed it and you've learned something, and maybe it will inspire you as well to do similar things in your communities. And like Vanessa said, you can contact them if you have any questions about where to start. And Shannon is also there at Lendology to help with finance. And so really good. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you for joining us, and take care, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.